BlogTalk Radio.
Hello everybody, this is Amelia Sintara and I'd like to welcome you to another conversation with Chrism about your Kundalini awakening journey. Today Chrism is going to be speaking about resistance and the Kundalini, and he will be joining us very soon. If you would like to phone in, there will be a phone-in number that I will give out to you later, and if you would like to contact that, I will be on the switchboard soon and will patch you through to Chrism. So in the meantime, I would like to let you know that we had a very successful seminar in Santa Rosa at the weekend. As always, it was unique to this particular seminar. Each one is original, and so indeed was this one. For myself, Chrism invited myself and another person to contribute by offering Kundalini healing, and this was a great it was a wonderful blessing for me to be able to do that and an opportunity to give service to others. And I learned a lot myself at the weekend, met some wonderful Kundalini people. And after the retreat, indeed, two people stayed around with us in Santa Rosa, and in a way the retreat was extended. We did many things together. We shared some lovely meals. We went for a wonderful walk in what Chrism calls the Kundalini forest. It's actually the Armstrong National State Reserve, I think is the correct term for it. It's a redwood forest. And Chrism calls the redwood forest the Kundalini forest because the redwood trees are so tall. They're the tallest trees in the world, and they reach high above everything else that grows in a tree form, and so it is with Kundalini, and so it's the Kundalini forest, which I love. I've been there a few times, and each time I go, I just love it. It has a very unique quality to it that's original, a bit like the seminars. And there's a silence there that is really a kind of a vibrational silence that isn't found anywhere else. So I'm going to patch you over now to Chrism, and here he comes. Hello, Chrism.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this other conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. In this conversation, I'd like to talk with you about resistance. We run into this quite a bit in regards to the Kundalini because not everything, but most things that a person is doing before they have the Kundalini is wrapped up in their ego. And the ego says, well, I've always done it this way. I don't want to learn anything new. I don't want to have to change the way I've been doing it for years and years and years because I'm happy with that way and I'm secure, and I've grown complacent with that type of activity. And I don't want to learn something new. I don't want to have to change. So basically, we resist change. And Kundalini is all about change. And so in many cases, the Kundalini will be with us for a number of years. And within those years, a certain way will be given and the energy will do other things. And then when it sees that the time is appropriate for you, it will change its level of resistance. It will change so that you can have a level of resistance that isn't let me back up here. It'll go through a number of years, and in that number of years, it will allow you to do a certain thing in a certain way. And then when the time is right, you'll be forced to change. You'll be given a way to change, and whether you like it or not, you will change. Kundalini is a divine energy, and it is not something that you can typically resist successfully. One moment, please. Thank you. Yeah. So as you come into your Kundalini, begin to adopt the idea that this is change and that you will open yourself to these changes. In many ways, we may not be completely happy with how our life is, or what we want to do to bring in a new level of information upon us. I remember when I was early on in my process, everything was about change. I was kind of in a real quantum change position, and you may be too. And so when you're in a real quantum change position, quantum meaning that you're changing on many different levels in many different realities all at the same time, and you're really struggling within this current physical reality. In that type of a position, it's very difficult to resist change. What begins to occur is you resist being uncomfortable. And of course, the Kundalini, if that is part of your personal process, the discomfort will continue. It won't. None of these changes will stop happening because you don't like it. In many ways, if such as a dark night of the soul, these changes will be very, very strong, very, very uncomfortable, and you're going to have to resist your own resistance. You're going to have to find a way to survive within this degree of change. A dark night soul offers a great degree of change all at once, and not just for you, but for those people that are outside of you as well. Your spouse, your kid, work friends, your regular friends in general. They will not see you as the normal person that you've always been. They will see you as a person that they've never seen before. So understand this. Understand how important change is to this process. Realize that even though the Kundalini allows you to have a certain kind of experience for a certain amount of time, there will come a new time where you'll want to welcome a new experience, a new level of experience, a new way of processing the original experience. Kundalini is all about change, as I said earlier, and not just easy change, not just, wow, I've got these really nice tingles going up the spine. Sometimes it's change that as a student described earlier this week, it feels like I have a tractor going around the top of my head at high speed, forming itself into a whirlwind. It can be that tactile. It can be that strong. And you're not allowed to focus on anything because at this point, at that point in your process, Kunalini doesn't want you to focus on anything. It wants you to just release your levels of resistance. As you consistently release this resistance, your path becomes easier and easier and easier. Sometimes it's meant to be difficult for you so that you can see how you gauge your new responses, your new senses, your new body of expression through the crucible of discomfort. Do you start to whine? Oh, I just wish this Kundalini would stop. My gosh. I wanted to wash my Porsche today. Oh, my gosh, I wanted to go bowling. Oh, my gosh, I wanted to make my baskets this way. And the Kundalini will say, no, you're going to have to wash your Porsche another day. Today belongs to me, your Kundalini. So know this and understand this, and really take a personal accounting of who you are and how you are. Seriously, take a personal accounting of who you are. Well, okay, I'm Chrism. And how you are. Well, okay, I'm inside my Kundalini process. And then determine where you are resisting. Well, let's see. I'm resisting going to Mexico to get a new pair of glasses. Use that as an example. And so you look at, okay, this is what I'm resisting, and then you stop resisting it. You stop resisting it. Now, this is not the same as resisting, say, an ego inclination to do harm or to do something that harms somebody or harms yourself. That's different. I want you to continue resisting that. Matter of fact, I want you to channel that energy into a different activity, something that is constructive, something that you can use, to further your process. Not saying that recognition of the shadow is a bad thing, or allowing the shadow to express itself. Fine, let the shadow express itself. Just don't hurt yourself or hurt other people. Find new and distinct creative ways to have the shadow express itself within you. Remember, the seed germinates inside darkness. Inside darkness. Remember that. Light and shadow are dependent upon each other in this multiverse of duality. So, don't see the darkness as something awful all the time. It's not. Only human egos make it that way. And you can resist some things, such as having your ego, or an entity suggest things to you that are not helpful. The one thing that you cannot resist would be the Kundalini itself. So in a way, as the Kundalini opens you to a greater contact with other forms of creation, not strictly physical creation, but say non-physical creation, you will find ways to discern what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate to your task at that time. Your task being the surrender into the Kundalini. As you surrender, anything that interrupts that surrender, you can help it to go a different route. I.e., you don't have to surrender to another force that is not helping you with your Kundalini process. You can resist that force, even though it is the Kundalini transformation that has opened you to the possibility of having interaction with that other force that is not of your specific Kundalini process. A lot of people will say, oh, Chrism, everything is Kundalini. Everything is divine. Kundalini is divine, therefore everything is divine. I won't take that in a literal sense. Everything is divine, but so is Maya, illusion. So that's a divine illusion. So to say that everything is divine is kind of an escape route into not having to take personal responsibility for the changes that you want to enact. To say, oh, everything is God. Well, okay, everything is God, and so is the crucible of learning that you are within this lifetime a part of God, and so is the scenario and the equation of learning that God has given you a part of God. So don't think that somebody can just quote divinity and have an escape route from having to do the hard work it takes to work within a Kundalini awakening process. Divinity is pervasive, there is no doubt of that. But so are the issues and the challenges that divinity gives to us as favors, as gifts of love for our continued spiritual evolution. You didn't take this body just because you wanted to wash your Porsche. Okay. That's not the sole purpose of life. When I hear people say, things along the line, oh, well, God is everything, divinity is everything, therefore I don't have to do anything. Well, I kind of look at that and I just go, that's just laziness. That's just it's a level of the ego hijacking a spiritual understanding, and you can resist that. You can resist that. Most of you who have the Kundalini realize that, wow, this is such a strong, huge force. I'm going to need to really learn how to work with this force, not against it. So let's look at some of the ways that we resist the Kundalini. I'm sure some of you are already thinking some right now. We resist it by refusing to change the way it wants us to change. We resist it by refusing to be a different person than who we have been up to this point. And let me be clear, the person you've been up to this point has been a necessary person to be. And I don't mean that facetiously at all. You had to make all the mistakes, you had to have all the triumphs that you've had in order to be within the Kunalini process that you have right now. It had to happen that way. So that is not intrinsically a mistake at all. That too is a triumph. That too is a positive expression of a person who is withering away the karmic bonds that held the Kundalini away from its expression within them. So I have to say, all of you who have the Kundalini right now, you've done very well. You've done very, 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 very well. And I want you to know that. And I don't want you to resist that compliment. Accept it. Give yourself a hug. Give yourself a pat on the back because you've earned it. Not just in this lifetime, but in other lifetimes too. You've done very, very, very well. However, now you need to look at who you are and how you've been and how the Kundalini wants you to change. Don't resist that change. So as we look at the many ways that we resist the Kundalini, well, here's some obvious ones. Well, I'm a real carnivore. I like to eat my meat rare. I like it to dance when I stick that fork in it. And the Kundalini will come along and say, my wonderful carnivorous Master Chrism, you now shall be eating vegetables and fruits, and you'll be lucky if I let you drink anything but water. And that cowboy Chrism will go, whoa, wait a minute. The only person in my life that's been eating greens is my horse. So you really need to, that Chrism person is going to have to change. He's going to have to start eating green vegetables and no more compact proteins that we find in the meat. Not that meat is bad. Meat is not bad. This whole world is a predatory world, and almost all of the animal kingdom predates upon another animal or another life form. This is a natural expression on this world. And I have no problem, absolutely no problem, eating meat or with people who like to eat meat. The Kundalini does, however, because it realizes that strictly a compact protein diet is not helpful for its transformation within inside a person, and so that will come to a person. That change will come to a person, and many people will resist it. They'll resist it. They'll continue to order meat, they'll go out of their way to avoid vegetables or green leaves, vegetables or fruits or things that are not animal. And the Kundalini will pretty soon it will let them air a few times, and then it will kick back so hard and brutal that the person cannot eat anything. It will change the way that person consumes anything. If that person chooses to eat meat just because it's what they've always known, then they'll vomit that meat up every time they try to swallow it, or they'll become so sick and so nauseous when they see the meat that they won't be able to partake of it. And yet they'll become ravenous when they see the spinach or the kale or the broccoli or the tomatoes or the pears, the apples, the peaches, the cherries, the watermelon, the bananas, the coconuts. They'll become ravenous when they see those things. And in this way are we able to understand that one does not resist the Kundalini. One does not resist the divine imperative. As many of you know, I had a retreat this past weekend, and I would like to thank Amelia Santara and Eileen Laurel for their crucial assistance and help in bringing this retreat into existence. I had decided a while back that I wasn't going to do any more retreats, and I was just going to strictly do the BlogTalk thing and the various other areas that I do. I give this information from, like YouTube. Which brings me up. If you want to see the YouTube videos, please go to Chrism, the number 0, Kundalini. So it looks like Chrism O Kundalini at YouTube, and there's about 228 videos for you to watch there. Or you can go to KundaliniAwakeningSystems1.com, and that's the number 1.com. Or you can go to Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at Facebook groups, or you can go to Kundalini Awakening ! On Facebook groups. You can also go to a Kundalini Ashram on Facebook groups, as well as Kundalini Healing on Facebook groups. So please feel free to partake of those groups. There's also a Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 on Yahoo groups. And the Yahoo groups have a different type of speed as far as, the way they organize their groups. And it's very nice. It's very nice as well. And so I would encourage you to look at Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at yahoogroups.com, as well as another Kundalini Healing group at yahoogroups.com. So please partake of these avenues of information for your Kundalini. Remember that with the Kundalini, knowledge is power. Information is power. Not power over others, but power over your ego, and power over the fears that your ego will produce because it is not informed about the different areas of Kundalini activity that is happening upon the body. Another way that we can resist the Kundalini is whether or not we go outside barefoot. Many of you live in the city, and it's just not the height of fashion to go walking down the Champs-Élysées barefoot. It's just, oh my gosh, that is so not right. And so the Kundalini, however, will say, barefoot, I want bare skin on bare soil. And she'll give you that compulsion. And I really don't want you to fight that compulsion. I want you to embrace it and allow the connection that you have with raw earth to raw skin to be made and to be given. And this is very, 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 very important. Another way that we resist is the automatic movements that come to us in the form of kriyas. For those of you who don't know what a kriya is, there's another program that had some technical difficulties with BlogTalk Radio, but that was only the first half hour. If you kind of fast forward past the first half hour and all of our weird conversation, you can click into at least an hour, I think, of solid information about the kriya phenomena. Kriyas are movements that the Kundalini puts the body into. Sometimes they're yoga positions. Sometimes they're just spontaneous movements. It includes vocal sounds and noises, different breathing ratios or rates. These things come out of the blue for us, and they're scary if we don't know what's going on. Well, you know what's going on. You've listened to all of these radio broadcasts, and you know what is going on. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, you can go into the archives sections on BlogTalk Radio, and you can partake of all of the different topics and conversations that we've given on BlogTalk Radio. And then I would like to continue to give, because I know that even though my audiences may not be large now, in the future, there's going to be that one person, and perhaps that person is you. I'm talking to you, that person in the future who has been searching and searching and searching to find some sort of definitive information that is authentic about the Kundalini, and you haven't felt good about what you've heard so far or read so far or experienced so far with teachers or whatever, and you come along, you might find the information I give to you helpful. And so I would like to say hello to all of you who are listening to the archives right now. Blessings to you. And what a glorious way to time travel this is. So yes, about the resistance, people, because they don't want to go into these automatic positions with the Kriyas, they'll try to resist it, and of course the Kundalini will give them pain if they resist. And so once again, we are taught not to resist the Kundalini. And getting back to the dark night soul, when we have a dark night soul, we have a whole suite of uncomfortable things happening to us all at the same time. And, you know, a person's going to want to resist every single one of them. And once again, we cannot resist the purification process. Dark night soul often is a purification process where you know, a person's many ego issues of greed, hatred, revenge, anger, sadness, depression, low self-worth, you know, all of these issues of pride and you know, lust and desires, they all are brought up in large number into the person's consciousness so that they can be purged from the system. This is not typically comfortable. This can be devastatingly uncomfortable. And yet, I will say, once again, don't resist it. Do not resist it. It will not help you to resist it. It will just make it really much worse than it has to be. So surrender to your Kundalini awakening process. Surrender to the dark night soul. Surrender to the changes that the Kundalini gives to you. I'm gonna ask Santara some questions. So I'll be passing the cell phone. I know we're extremely high tech here. So I'll be passing the cell phone and Santara, once again, thank you for your assistance in putting the retreat together. Can you tell the listeners about some of the areas of, you could move those headphones if you like, some of the areas of resistance that you've experienced and that you've had to overcome and how you overcame it?
Okay, there are many. I suppose some of the things that you've already spoken of, like the Kriyas, things like that, those things took a while for me to be able to surrender to, because first of all, they were very strange, and I wasn't aware of really what was occurring, and they were so strong, sometimes I didn't have any choice. But as I began to have an understanding as well, I stopped resisting those things. For me, the biggest resistance really has been around behavior and ego issues, I think. And so what I have found very helpful for me are the safeties, because a lot of things have been amplified, you know, issues such as wanting to be right, I'd be a very independent person, and I'd have a very strong ego. And, there would have been times when the need to be right was overwhelming. And I know that what was needed for me was tolerance and understanding, patience, love, all of these things. All the things really that are in the safeties. And not an easy thing to do at times, and I resisted it because I knew I was right, that sort of thing. And so that was a big resistance. And so that's one way that I used the safeties to help me to overcome resistance. When some things are happening, even the Kriyas, they are so pleasant in their own way. They can be very strong and strange, but as you surrender to them, you get infusions and feedback from your Kundalini that you're doing the right thing, and this helped me to continue to surrender. But with regard to ego things such as the need to be right or that sort of thing, it's not as clear-cut. It's not as clear-cut because the emotional body, is very expressive and strong, and the ego is very, very strong. So, so the safeties were definitely one of the things that were very beneficial for me with regards to resistance. What else? Let me think. Food would have been another thing, indeed. Before my, I was in a Kundalini activation without realizing it before I had a spinal sweep. And I was given, I just had to give up meat. And it wasn't even a compulsion. It was the desire for meat just left me. Now, I didn't have a resistance to that in the sense that it just occurred. The desire for meat just left me, but it was completely given to me by my Kundalini. I had no choice. But there were other things that occurred. In the same way I find the issues with food, sometimes Kundalini is very, very considerate or begins very gently with regard to food. And so I didn't find, when things came that I was not to eat, it was a huge communication, and I knew that I was not to eat them. And that worked well for a while, but for me, sometimes then Kundalini withdrew the help in a way, and I was expected to continue myself. And when I stopped then and resisted and didn't find it as easy to not eat the food that I was given to not eat, I would feel very unwell, very, very unwell. Issues, I'm trying to think of food like I was to eat lots of fruit and vegetables, and I wasn't to eat carbohydrates. I knew I wasn't to eat bread. I wasn't to have pizza, things like that. This is going back a while. And at the time when the Kundalini was being was infusing me and letting me know that this is what she wanted, I found it very easy. And every time that I made a good choice, a choice of the path of non-resistance, Kundalini gave me feedback that I had made the right decision. But later on, when that feedback stopped, I found it more difficult and I resisted. And then the Kundalini, I would just get unwell, I would get sick. I would be given a way to know that I had made the wrong choices. It also occurred with regard to alcohol and with regard to smoking. I had no choice but to stop smoking. It just wasn't allowed. And the same with alcohol. Just stop drinking alcohol. Now, I definitely resisted that on different occasions. Again, sometimes it was very easy, but there were times when I really wanted to have the glass of wine or two, and I resisted, and there was, you pay for that. In very tactile ways, in very physical ways, So that's food and drink. I'm trying to think the ego expressions. Choices that I would make as well. Again, for example, around things like my practice and my meditation and things that would be given, that I would know that I was to do, and the things that I would have been given as well to do as a practice by my teacher. If I didn't follow through on those, it didn't go well for me. And I would also be woken up and made to do these at different times. Things would occur like headaches, different things like that I would need to follow through in my practice. And I wouldn't feel good about it. There would be, the Kundalini would communicate that it wasn't okay. I would become very aware that I was resisting, that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And eventually I would just have to do it. But when I didn't resist, when I made the correct choices, when I did as the Kundalini was directing me to do, so very often the Kundalini comes and infuses and says, yes, 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 and that you know that you're making the right choices, you know that you're not resisting and that you're surrendering. And then there are the feelings of love and bliss and all of that comes as well with, not resisting and walking the path as the Kundalini wants me to walk. What else? I think... let me think, Chrism, is there anything else?
It's hard for people to remember the thousands of millions of ways that they resist the Kundalini every day. And so, when you're put on the spot, like I just put Amelia on the spot, she wasn't expecting to be a part of the program, and so I had to coach her on some of the areas that I know she's had some difficult times with, and we I'll use an example. People love to go out drinking. They love to have wine or beer or harder alcohols sometimes. And gosh, that's an entertainment. That is something that they do to socialize and to feel good with. And the Kunalini will come along and say, well, no more of that. And that's a hard thing not to resist, because this is how we have fun, and life is, a lot of people will say, oh, well, life is short, let me go out and get plastered. Well, that's one way to make it a lot shorter, I guess. But, we have some resistance to doing those types of things, and when we resist those things, it will show up. It will show up in how we are able to metabolize the Kundalini awakening experience. Another way that we resist is the amount of sleep that we're used to having. Well, because of our jobs, we have to get up at a certain time and do a certain thing, and we have expectations of a certain period of sleep. That, and for years and years and years, we've lived our life, and we've become fairly used to the amount of sleep that we're comfortable with, and Kundalini comes along and says, oh, no, you don't need your 8 hours of sleep anymore. You only need 4. So I'll be waking you up at 3 a.m. every morning, and if you like, you can do your practice. If you like, you can allow me to give you some kriyas. If not, then that's fine, but you'll still remain awake, and you'll have 4 hours of sleep every night. And, of course, we're going to do everything we can do to resist that. We are going to take sleeping pills. We're going to go to the doctor and tell them what kind of medication can I have that puts me to sleep. I need to go to sleep, because the ego is screaming that it wants to have its control, and it wants to have the same amount of time that it's always had for sleep. And the Kunalini is relentless, and it will just not allow that to occur. Sleeping potions or not, you'll still be awakened at 3 a.m. The other aspect of it is it will let you feel that grogginess all day, of that stupefaction of a drug-induced, medication-induced sleep potion, and that's not going to help you at work either. So the best thing that you can do is is stop resisting these changes that are coming along. It's not going to help you to resist. It just isn't. I can't tell you how important it is for you to understand that. You have to really get yourself behind the idea that resistance to the Kundalini, and I'm resisting the idea to quote Star Trek here, but resistance is really an unworkable solution for you. It's an unworkable solution for you. It isn't a solution at all. I know that many of you are very, very strong into your ego and how you wish to live your life. If you're of an age where over 50, over 60 years old, the way you have done it is the way you're comfortable doing things, and you're not exactly head over heels in love with the idea of change. Once again, I'm going to suggest that you get over that. Get over that resistance to these changes. The changes are going to occur. I don't care if you place yourself in the psych ward. I don't care if you go to the MD and have them order you all kinds of tranquilizers. Doesn't make any difference. It's just, at best, it's just putting this on hold, and you'll just have to deal with it later on. When you don't resist these things, when you don't resist the many changes that occur with the Kundalini, life becomes far more beautiful, much more exceptional in its enjoyment and in its love and in its understanding, and you really want to see this Kundalini change, this transformation, as a positive thing. It is a positive thing for you. It's nothing to try to avoid. It's very positive. And it definitely has your best interests at heart. It's not about, just forcing you to do something different because, it's got a weird, it's got a weird thing out for you, especially you. You're the one thing that Kundalini wants to have a problem with. And I don't think that's not the case with anybody with Kundalini. So look at how you're changing these things. Look at how you manifest resistance and stop it. Stop it. Just stop it. Look at the level of emotional connection that you have to doing things the way the ego likes to do them. Look at that. Look at the anger that is produced when you don't get to live your life the way that you want to live your life. Look at how your ego controls your emotional body. Have a look at that and make some changes. Don't be afraid to look at yourself and go, oh my gosh, maybe I need to be just a little more accepting of my Kundalini awakening experience. No more resistance. No more resistance. It's not going to help you. For those of you that are having particularly, difficult areas, don't feel that because the severity of the change, is upon you, and that, nobody can help you, and that, everything is being skewed through the effect of the Kundalini. You go to the ER, and the ER says, well, okay, we'll look for a psych ward where we can bring you in. Don't look at that as a solution. It is not a solution for you. You do not have that solution. The best thing you can do, even though I know it's painful, and I know it's painful, I've been there too, don't resist the Kundalini. Don't resist it. Let it speak to you the way it wishes to speak to you. If the Kundalini says that, here I want you to build, this birdhouse this way. Well, you may have built 1,000 birdhouses the other way, but this birdhouse wants the Kundalini wants you to use different materials, do things in a different way, explore different levels of understanding, and embrace the idea of doing something in a different way. Really, that is really how we can overcome our resistance to the Kundalini, is to embrace the new way of doing things, the new way of living your life, the new way of opening yourself to your divine characteristics. You've been a good person. You've done good things in this life in order to get to the Kundalini place where you are right now. That person is great. That cocoon of life and its expression of life has served you very well. Now it's time. Now it's time to come out of the cocoon. So we don't resist the walls of our reality falling away. Just as the new butterfly doesn't resist the walls of its cocoon falling away. It's time to change. Let us embrace that change as fast and as furious and as easily and as joyful as that butterfly you see floating across your garden. Change is that dynamic. The Kundalini changes are that dynamic. Do not resist them. Do not be that caterpillar that resists the growing of its wings. You have to learn how to fly no matter what. And nobody gets to help you with this. You help yourself by not resisting the levels of information that the Kundalini wants to give to you. If the Kundalini in you is saying, well, you better listen to this Chrism guy, he's on BlogTalk radio and he's free and his information is going to help you a lot. And you may look at my picture and go, oh my God, I'm not going to listen to that guy. He's wearing 3D glasses all the time. How correct can he be? Well, I'm going to suggest that you just stop resisting your Kundalini, and 3D glasses and all. I want you to give a listen to some of this information that's coming out here, because it is coming from the Kundalini. It is a stream of consciousness. I don't have a script, as you can probably tell. I don't have a script, and so this is a straight version of Kundalini coming to you. Just listen to it and feel its truth. Feel how it affects the Kundalini in you right now. And for those of you that are searching for Kundalini, know that you too can be into this place where a dynamic, new, transformative change is happening on the cellular and molecular level within you. You're not listening to this broadcast if some part of that truth is not available to you. It is available to you. It is available to you. You're listening to this because here's something that I don't often repeat on this program, but I'll repeat it now. The Kundalini travels on the vector of the voice. The voice in me carries the Kundalini. You're hearing my voice. Levels of Kundalini transference are being given to you through the signature of the voice. You're hearing it in your ears. It's going into your spinal column. It's going to every chakra. It's going to every chakra in your body. And it's going to resonate there. It's going to nourish your Kundalini awakening, no matter where it is in its process. Just by listening to the voice are you being given Kundalini gifts. And so don't resist the fruit of these gifts, even when it requires you to have significant change in your life. Especially when it requires you to have significant change in your life. Now, I don't know how much juice I have left on my phone here, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this show a bit early, and I'm going to walk my talk, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to pack my bag. I'm going to get in a car, and I'm going to drive down with Amelia to the country of Mexico. And I'm going to get a new pair of glasses. Hang on a second. I would like to thank everyone who attended the retreat here in Santa Rosa, specifically Sarkis. Hello, Sarkis. Thank you for coming. And Liz from Boston, thank you for coming. Ariane from San Pablo, thank you for coming. I would like everybody to know here that October 20th and 21st, we will be having another retreat in the state of Massachusetts, in the city of Boston, and that Liz is the contact person. I'm going to see if I can find your email real quick here. But, yeah, Liz is the organizer, and she flew back on the airplane in complete bliss for 5 hours, which I think is a significant statement on the seminar and what people can experience, you know, as they come to these retreats. I use seminar and retreats synonymously, so please understand that. Now, I'm on another computer right now, and it's moving kind of slow, but I'll try to get that email address out to you. If not, I'd like you to just write Amelia Santara at Kundalini Matters at gmail.com. Now, let's see here. I would like to encourage people to call in, but I don't have the call-in numbers, so I don't know what to tell you about that. But can you go get the call-in numbers to me, write them down or something? Thank you. So if there is anybody who would like to call in, I still have some juice on the phone here, it looks like, and I'll be willing to answer any of your questions that you may have. So I'm going to hand the phone to Eileen Laurel right now, and I want her to list some of the ways that she has found she resists the Kunalini. In the meantime, as you listen to Eileen, for those of you who would like to call in, the number is 347-934-0026. That's 347-934-0026. And here's Eileen. Hi, Eileen. Did you have a good time at the retreat?
Yes, I really enjoyed the retreat. I enjoyed meeting the people, and the lessons are always interesting and always new. I learned something at each one I go to, and we did some different activities at this retreat, and that's always fun. We did get outside a bit. We did get to go and have some meals together. And I had this thought in regards to retreats. As soon as a person makes the intention of going to a retreat, the lessons begin. And so if you decide at some point that you want to attend the Boston retreat, when you make that decision and that intention, your experience begins at that time. And this is just my opinion, but I find that to be the case for me. As to resistance, I resist a lot. I have a huge ego. I'm one of the older people Chrism mentioned. I've been doing things my own way my entire life, pretty much. And I don't like someone else telling me what to do. And I don't particularly care for challenges at times. It's very nice to be into a routine and to know that things are going easy in a sense. I find myself challenged continually with the Kundalini. Right now I'm dealing with an injury that is forcing me to look at things in a different way and forcing me to look at the fact that the body is not forever and having to deal with a change that may be semi-permanent. But that overall, I mean, once I'm having trouble with words here today. I'll just say that it's not easy being in ego resistance. I'm sorry, I can't think of anything else.
Sometimes, it's hard. It's hard to just be extemporaneous on the telephone. So thank you, Eileen. You brought us some very, very good points, and I want to thank you for adding it. And yeah, she's right. It's not always easy to have an injury. Then, there's nothing like though an injury to cause you to have to change the way you do things. Right? You're used to driving a car. All of a sudden, you can't drive a car. You're used to going to the bathroom, and even that, is a new challenge. So Eileen, you've done well. You've done well for all the changes that you're going through, and as well as you, Amelia. Both of you are doing very well, and I want to compliment you both. I'm getting back to the Boston retreat. Liz is the contact number, and her email is I think that's an L. LZ, that's L as in love and Z as in zebra, H as in happy, A as in apple, O as in obstacle, B as in better, A as in apple, I'm sorry, I take that all back. It's LZHAOB I think, at Comcast.net.
It's a 6.
Oh, thank you. So once again, forget that last one. It is LZHAO6 at Comcast.net, and that is Liz Zhao 6 at Comcast.net, LZHAO6, the number 6, at Comcast.net. She was here at this last retreat, and as I mentioned, she had bliss for 5 hours on the airplane back home, and she is very interested in setting up a Boston retreat. And so for those of you on the East Coast that are hearing this, East Coast United States, or on the West Coast of Europe, or anywhere in Europe or this world, come to Boston on the 20th and the 21st, 2013, and Eileen and Amelia and myself would all be very, very happy to meet you, as we're all going to be there. So I don't see any callers, and so I just want to say, do your best, ladies and gentlemen. Do your best to accept what the Kundalini brings to you graciously. No, it will not always be easy. I promise you it will not always be easy, but it won't always be hard either. Some of these changes you're going to want to have. And, in order to have an ascended skill or a special skill like telepathy or clairvoyance or telekinesis or psychometry, any of these types of skills that we only use to help other people with, in order to have those, you have to be changed. The Kundalini has to upgrade your system, to use a computer term. You have to receive upgrades in order to have these skills. And some of those upgrades require you to let go of some of these ego controls. They require you to let go of some of these ego controls. So think about that, too. I mean, there's definitive payoff, if you need a payoff, there's definitive payoff for a person to embrace the changes, surrender themselves into the Kundalini program that the Kunalini has given to you. And with that, I would like to say thank you to everyone for listening. I will be back Wednesday. As you know, I'm on my way to Mexico now to get a new pair of reading glasses. Not reading glasses, but just glasses in general. And I will report to you. I'll be back by the time next Wednesday rolls around. But I'll be making some videos down there with Amelia Santara. And I want to say, have a beautiful day, have a beautiful night. Don't resist the Kundalini in any way. Open your arms, open your heart, open your body, open your mind, and let your divinity flow inside of you. Thank you for listening.